Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. Last week on Friday, news broke that Netflix had won the bid to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Card them up to that video if you don't know what I'm talking about. But in that video, I alluded to the fact that apparently Paramount isn't too happy with Warner Brothers Discovery right now, and is claiming that they had a tilted and unfair bidding process that favored Netflix. This is all coming from a Deadline article, which there's a lot of legal quotes in the article, so I'm not going to read the quotes directly, but I'll paraphrase for you what it said. According to Paramount, they're saying that there's an unfair bidding process that was taking place that was favoring Netflix from the start. They said that it was increasingly clear through media reporting that Warner Brothers Discovery abandoned the semblance and reality of a fair transaction process, and they're saying that by doing so, they basically shafted their shareholders to the side, abandoning finding the best deal for them in order to basically get the best deal for themselves to pad their pockets and secure their futures further. They're claiming that apparently during the bidding process, Warner Brothers Discovery's executives were essentially letting their personal agendas get into the way. What were their roles in the company be post-merger? What incentives were in there for them personally to make this deal better for them than potentially a deal from Netflix or someone else? Paramount is saying that all of this is tainted and all of this is unfair, and apparently they sent a message to the board of Warner Brothers Discovery saying, we ask you to take a step back and look back at what David Zaslav is doing, because he is not trying to get the best deal for you, he's trying to get the best deal for him and his fellow executives. And apparently they're claiming here, Paramount that is, that they had a better deal in place for the shareholders of Warner Brothers Discovery, but according to different media reports and according to their sources, Warner Brothers Discovery's executives were warming up to the idea of a Netflix merger or acquisition as opposed to a Paramount merger or acquisition or any other potential merger or acquisition for unknown reasons, because apparently this deal would be better for their own pockets and they're looking out for themselves as opposed to the betterment of the brand and the betterment of their shareholders. And yeah, these are quite the accusations. I really think it's hard for me or anyone else to sit here and say which deal would have been better for the company itself. I've said on the record that I personally don't love the idea of Warner Brothers Discovery going to Netflix. There's a lot of things that are very questionable about how they will be handled going forward. I touched on some of these in my other video. For example, how are theatrical releases going to be handled going forward? Netflix is a streaming platform. Are they really going to release these blockbuster films in theater? Because if they don't, all of a sudden the movie theater industry is going to take a massive hit. They're claiming things are going to stay status quo, but again, that might just be them saying that to get this deal passed through the antitrust agencies that it needs to go through. There's also the whole fact that Warner Brothers Discovery produces a lot of content for other platforms. They produce Ted Lasso for Apple TV+, Batman Caped Crusader for Amazon Prime Video, Steven Universe Lars of the Stars is going to be on Amazon Prime Video. A lot of their shows from Cartoon Network's past are on Hulu. The new Amazing World of Gumball sequel series, The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball, is on Hulu. They're claiming that's all going to stay the same as well, which again I find rather hard to believe. And the last aspect of this, which I saw someone bring up online, so this idea isn't originally from me, but someone made a very good point saying, and I saw this on Twitter, saying that, how is the media landscape going to change from a home media perspective? Because Warner Brothers Discovery is one of the major media companies to release home media, Blu-rays, DVDs, and 4K Blu-rays. Well, Netflix is a streamer. They have no interest in that. So how is that all going to be handled going forward? Again, these are all rather fascinating points and valid points to be concerned on. I don't think all of this existed in a deal with Paramount. I think with Paramount, a lot of it would stay status quo, and Paramount saying, apparently, according to them, if Comcast or if Netflix were to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, they're not going to get past antitrust agencies with this deal. That's what they're claiming here. But then apparently the EU is claiming, or members of the EU, or in a meeting with the EU with Warner Brothers Discovery, it was discussed that if Paramount was to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, it would never get past those regulatory agencies because then there would be a monopoly within the media landscape. So there's a lot of sides to this story, and I don't necessarily think, and I can't sit here today to tell you who was right here. All I can tell you is the facts of the situation, which are that Warner Brothers Discovery is going to Netflix. Paramount is not very happy happy about it, and I'm quite frankly a little concerned with what the future of this company will look like post a Netflix merger, because I don't necessarily believe everything they're saying here. It's more so time will tell and the proof will be in the pudding, so to speak, when it actually happens and we actually get to see what Warner Brothers Discovery looks like post acquisition. But for now, this really creates a bigger rivalry than they had already between Warner Brothers and Paramount. Obviously, they've been rivals for many years now, alongside, other media companies like Disney. They've all been rivals to each other for years. And the fact that seemingly now there's bad blood between Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery because supposedly this just merger or acquisition process was not fairly done. Apparently, it was just heavily leaning towards Netflix this entire time, and Warner Brothers Discovery really had little interest in hearing anyone else out because there are apparently some personal agendas getting in the way of finding the best deal possible for the company, which again, it's kind of hard to sit here and say that because I feel like I would need to see what Netflix's deal was versus what Paramount's deal was. We know Netflix's deal was, I believe, $27.75 per share, which equates to $82.7 billion. There were reports a few weeks back, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I believe it was around $22 to $25 per share if Paramount were to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. But the difference there is Paramount was buying the entirety of the company, including the linear cable networks, meaning they were going to buy this company before it split in Q3 of 2026. So they wanted the studio streaming and all the linear cable networks, whereas Netflix is just buying the streaming and studios, which is just the Warner Brothers portion of the brand post-split. They are not going to buy any of the linear cable networks. Those are going to be spun off into Discovery Global. So in that sense, yeah, Netflix's deal would be a lot more money because they're only buying half the brand. They're not buying the entirety of the brand, whereas Paramount wanted to buy the entirety of the brand. It's very hard for me to sit here and say if it's true or not, if Warner Brothers Discovery was playing dirty, because this is one company that was at the dance that ended up walking away alone. And the other thing as well here is when you think about it too, they were the first ones to the table, Paramount that is, to buy Warner Brothers Discovery in its entirety. Because if you guys recall, Warner Brothers Discovery was pursuing a split to basically make themselves more lucrative for a potential buyer, because you don't have to buy into all the debt and you don't have to buy into these linear cable networks because those are on the decline. You want what's more profitable, right? The whole reason they were reportedly doing that was because they were discussing with Sony and other potential buyers that were saying, hey, we don't want your linear cable networks, we just want your studios and streaming. They were exploring the split, then all of a sudden, leaks start to appear, reports start to come out that, hey, Paramount's trying to get ahead of the game because they really want this company badly, and they're telling Warner Brothers Discovery, forget about your plans to split, we'll buy you right now as is. And then once that started happening, other companies were saying, hey, no, we're not going to let Paramount be the only players at the table. We want to play game too because we want your company. The initial reporting was that Netflix was one of the first after Paramount's reports came out to say, hey, no, we want to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Understandably so, Paramount's a little pissed because it's essentially like, hey, we were having exclusive negotiations with you to buy your company and we thought this might have been going somewhere. Then all of a sudden you said, well, if you're trying to buy us now, maybe we could explore this with other companies that have a bit of a bidding war here to get them even more money. And essentially that's what happened, and Paramount was left high and dry. So I understand why they would be annoyed. So this might just be the frustration, bubbling out and getting out there into the public, and there might be no merit to what they're saying. Or it could be that, hey, they're being 100% truthful and Warner Brothers Discovery was not going through a fair bidding process. They were playing favorites the entire time and letting their personal agendas get in the way. I'm in no position to say whether that's true or not. The analogy I'll use is it's essentially like as if there's a breakup between two people and you talk to, let's just say, Jimmy, and Jimmy's saying, hey, it's all Jessica's fault that we broke up. She did X, Y, and Z, and she's the reason why this is all ending. But then Jessica's telling her friends what happened between her and Jimmy, and she's saying how it's all Jimmy's fault. Everything's Jimmy's fault. He's the reason why we broke up. There's two sides to every story. I think the fact of the matter is here, Paramount's pretty pissed because they really wanted this company. Paramount's pretty pissed because they thought they had the best chance to get it. They were the first ones at the table and they're going home alone. They didn't get Warner Brothers Discovery. So I understand why they're annoyed, but I can't speak to whether or not this was a fair bidding process because I wasn't in the room. Anyways, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all of this. What do you guys think about the fact that Paramount's apparently pretty pissed that Warner Brothers Discovery is selling itself to Netflix? They're claiming that this was not a fair bidding process and this was unfairly tilted towards Netflix the entire time. Do you think there's something to that, or do you agree with me that there's really no no way to know because there's two sides to every story. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.